aware of the time. It's 7:32, and welcome everybody to our July meeting of the Marinwood CSD Board of Directors. Thank you, Tiffany. So the instructions on how to make public comment during the meeting at points in the meeting. When the meeting chair requests public comment, members of the public shall indicate their desire to speak. All public comments shall be addressed to the Board of Directors and limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The Board of Directors may choose to respond to comments or request staff to respond at the conclusion of the public comment period. Not going to even call to order. We are all here. No need to do attendance. All right, for the agenda, I have some edits that need to be hopefully approved. The chief is unable to make it. He was going to do a verbal report. So I'm just going to X-nay that off of the agenda, so no F, if that is okay with everybody.
Did you say X-nay?
Yeah.
Okay, got
It
it.
is summer. I said X-nay.
X-nay, that's formal for delete.
It's formal for delete. We're just going
I
to
wrote remove.
remove it.
I need to move. Postponed.
Everybody okay with that? All right. So I call, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Yeah? Okay. All those in favor? Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, last week while I was walking my dog, I noticed we have another intrusion in the park. I took a picture, I emailed the staff, I emailed 3 of you, be careful not to violate whatever. Anyhow, and I asked that it be on this agenda, and it seems like a pressing order of business. We've got someone has built a batting cage in Marinwood Park. It's not on the agenda. It actually, the staff really needs to answer for it. They excluded it from the agenda, and I think you should be talking about it tonight. And if not, please explain why it doesn't get posted to the agenda. It's a legitimate piece of business.
Thank you, Stephen. So technically that should be public comment on items not on the agenda.
You're excluding it from the agenda.
Yes, I'm excluding it from
That's
the
the
agenda. It
problem.
is not on the agenda right now. We will address, I can make a comment when we're there. And we're specifically just going to adopt the current agenda. I cannot add things to it right now. So
You saw it before.
Thank you, Stephen.
You were emailed.
I
So,
know,
you
and
chose not to put it on
I
there.
will
So you
address
need to-
it during the public comment open
Okay.
time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
would just like to say, I think I know the batting cage he's talking about, and I know personally it's actually movable, it's temporary, so in no way is anything built.
Yeah,
Whatever he's talking
yeah.
about.
It's,
Hold on.
Would you have it
This
in
is
your
not the point
backyard?
during the agenda, so we're not going to talk about it right now. We are adopting the agenda. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as is?
Aye.
Are those opposed? The agenda passes. We are moving on to the consent calendar, to item C. Is there any questions from the board on the draft minutes from the last meeting or the bills paid? And thank you, Tiffany, for coming back and doing all of that. So good. Anybody have any questions?
no.
Questions?
And the budget?
Can I make a motion to approve the consent calendar? Second.
Okay, and it passes. All those in favor?
Aye.
No, we don't need to approve. Okay, but first we need to ask for public comment, so.
Yes.
This is
This is
consent calendar.
specifically the consent calendar of
I
the
don't-
draft
I
minutes
don't
and
have
bills
any
paid.
remarks.
No remarks? Sir, would you like to? All right. So we did have a motion and a second. All right.
Now we vote.
Now we vote. So all those in favor of
Aye.
approving?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Now on to public comment. Open time for items not on the agenda. Speakers may comment only on non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district. The board may not take action on, consider, or debate items not on the agenda, except under narrow circumstances meeting statutory test. Response to comments on non-agenda items will be limited to factual information or clarifying questions
So first off, I want to congratulate Bill, who had a recent birthday. He looks younger every year and is considerably wiser. And congratulations, Bill. Tonight's subject that I want to talk to is integrity. It's integrity of the district. It's integrity of how we manage public policy in the park, and it's also integrity of our parks and open space. I alluded to the problem before with intrusions in the park. We now have given the backyard an additional 1,200 square feet to a neighbor who was allowed to pay our staff to build a wall in our park. That they're celebrating 4th of July back there. Nice people. The gentleman, he's a very nice guy who built that batting cage. It's in our park. There have been in the past several attempts to build patios in Marinwood Park. And why is this being allowed to occur? Well, I'll tell you, we now know one of the reasons why it's allowed to occur is because, unfortunately, the board is allowing our staff to be unaccountable for keeping the integrity of our parks and open space. It is unconscionable to me that you would exclude such a basic problem from the agenda because maybe it was embarrassing. I don't know who you're protecting. I don't know who you're working for. But our tax dollars support the park, it supports our staff, it supports our programs, and if you're not doing the right thing by the taxpayers, you know, quite frankly, it would be helpful if you resign because you really do have to represent the interest of the community, not special interest. Several years, now one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight is raises for our staff, and I would hope that you ask some hard questions on the performance of our staff. I believe these intrusions are just so unbelievably outrageous that they are a cause of action. I believe that you all have, everybody here has good heart and wants to do the best for the district, but you really have to ask yourself, are you doing the best for the district?
Thank you, Stephen, for your comment. Is there any other comments from the?
I would just like to say that with regard to what he's saying, is there any
You're not-
record?
Okay, Stephen,
You're not supposed to talk.
Stephen?
Is there any
Against me.
record of complaints coming to the district from these issues that he's talking about? And
It's property
No,
violation.
Stephen?
We have the floor.
No,
Excuse-
and he's talking to me, how about that?
Stephen, if you're
It's on tape.
Good. You're
We're taking
you're
a
on
3-minute
tape.
recess. Thank you. We are going back into session. I actually don't know, do we need to call anything, but we are going back into session. It is 7:44 or 7:45 according to Apple. And our two members of the public, would you like
Well,
to speak?
I would just like to say, I know the Park District encourages recreational opportunities. That's part of the mission of the Park District. And with regard what the previous speaker was saying about intrusions into the park, I would just like to say I hardly think that something that is clearly movable and temporary, that was built towards the end of the pandemic for a 12 and 13-year-old boy that, you know, baseball facilities were closed down. It was just a matter of keeping the spirit up and, you know, practicing, and it is, like I said, clearly movable. It can be moved out of the way. There's no obstruction to any of the Park District facilities, trails, any of the residences, and I just think it's absolutely outrageous that he would sit here and consider something like that an intrusion that's similar to putting up a volleyball net for the day and playing, but, leaving it up overnight. But like I said, it's temporary and kids grow up pretty quick and it'll be gone quicker than you'll know. So that's all I'm gonna say.
All right, thank you for your comment.
Yeah, I would like to add a little bit to that. So, yeah, he was saying that we put it up after the pandemic and at the end of the pandemic, and then Line Drive was the only place that the kids could go and hit balls. But then Line Drive closed down and their teams, had like one batting cage at Valsito. So we put that up and we've got a pitching machine so that everybody could hit, practice. Like you said, it's not permanent. I don't know if you've seen it, you've walked by it. It's very far off of that trail, and David actually picks up the excrement from dogs that poop in that area, and he actually mows that area down. So he's maintaining it as well. And it's not hurting anybody. It's really not hurting anybody. It's bringing joy, and it's not harmful to anybody. Nobody's gonna get caught up in it. And,
That's usually the comments are positive.
yeah, everybody that walks by, they're like, "What is that?" It's a batting cage. That's great, that kind of thing. So we were just tired of taking our kids to Petaluma, and then paying $65 for a half an hour at a batting cage. So we decided to put all that money and just build it ourselves. I would like to talk about the cinder blocks. I think those are beautiful. I think it beautifies our neighborhood. I think he took something that was ugly and he made it beautiful. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment.
Can I chime in briefly?
Yeah, I was gonna proceed with the email.
So staff has been aware of this. It has, as pointed out, come and gone over the past several years. It's usually not up for very long when it is up, or it's pulled back, it's pulled down. There is nothing permanent. We inspected it. There is nothing has been installed into the ground, no changes to the park area. I did speak with the owners today, actually, and had a very pleasant conversation, informed them that, hey, we've received a complaint on this, we haven't received other complaints. They actually offered to immediately, they're like, look, we can pull it back immediately, and I just said, just hold tight. I do agree with the statement that they said that it's temporary. I don't see how it's anything different than when somebody puts a volleyball net in the middle of the field and starts playing a game of volleyball on it. That was an example I used. Again, they were very understanding, very appreciative that we had said something to them, and that was pretty much the end of it. This isn't a permanent structure up there. It is 100% out of the way. It doesn't represent a hazard or obstruction of any sort.
Thank you. Yeah, we got the email from Stephen, and then you spoke to them, and emailed the rest of the board, so the rest of the board was aware of these conversations going on. It is not on the agenda because, to our view, this was brought up, it was discussed, it is not an issue, it does not need to be an agenda item, and we are now going to move forward unless anybody else has any other questions or comments about this subject. Okay, moving on. Oh, go
I
ahead.
have one comment.
Yes.
I want to just add that the proper measures were made
Yes.
of our staff handling it and it not becoming an agenda item.
Yes.
As we trust our staff and you guys had a pleasant conversation, and I just wanted to note it as well.
I just wanted to let you know that this is the first interaction that I've had with them.
Oh, trust me.
In all the years you've lived
Well,
here.
I've read the next door
He's come
posts.
by
Oh, to you.
and talked to me before,
Oh, okay.
but I've known several long-term neighbors that have since moved out that
Correct.
I've heard stories.
Yeah, no, and in general, things that are emailed to the board members and to Eric Eric looks into them and we decide whether or not it should be an agenda item. And it's not necessarily the public that dictates what become agenda items. All right, moving on.
And please feel free to always reach out to Eric.
Oh, yeah, you're,
And to us.
the other director, you're new, right? Ish.
No, I think it's been
I've
quite
been
a
here about
while.
8.5 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
You need to get more involved.
I know. Time not to. Well, I know all the guys, that do the maintenance and stuff, but
Yeah.
you must be in that office.
He's been here.
They don't let me out to play.
He had to go on vacation to
He
get
has to check all the emails from the neighbors.
yeah.
Exactly.
All right, well,
You know, and I
thank you.
appreciate it doing
Thank
research.
you.
I
And
should
please-
take
appreciate
my
you guys
time
talking
off
to me
from
today.
work to get over here as fast as possible.
Oh, I'm sorry to speak.
I'm just
Don't-
Oh!
Sorry.
Miss Kilkenny, I'll mind you.
I know you will.
All right,
I
moving
appreciate
on.
you talking to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Okay,
And hopefully you
And
can
if
come again
anybody
and
wants
not.
to have a picnic in that area, or, you
We'll let you
know,
know.
well, just let us know.
Well,
Alright.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Can we bring our own bats?
If you bring booze, you can come.
Bad.
No
I didn't
drinking
know
in the
Bruce
park.
was-
Oh, I thought you meant like, okay, never mind.
Bye.
All right, district matters. Moving on to recommended pay schedule wage adjustments for non-representative full-time positions. Go ahead, Eric, do you have something you want to
Sure.
start with?
Yeah, I'll just touch briefly on it. I mean, I gave you guys a pretty detailed staff report on all of this, kind of tried to break it down the best we could and tried to stay within the lines of the policy that was passed just last month regarding this. Admittedly, staff still has to do some digging in to try to find as comparable of positions as we can. It's not always an apples to apples situation, especially in some of these other titles where you're looking at like admin assistant, or, you know, just, that's such an ambiguous term. And in fact, I even made a mention in here that for our admin assistant, for Tiffany's role specifically, I would actually look at changing the title of that to more of an accounting and payroll manager, because that's essentially what she does. It's not really just on the admin side. And then possibly looking at the senior admin and making that more specific to the rec department as well. But that's neither here nor there. That's just more about some of the challenges we found when trying to compare various positions and responsibilities amongst similar type agencies. I tried to break down all the steps and give you a little summary at the very end on what all the math was. And just to, kind of go into context, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. Total of everything that's being recommended in this action here would have a total burden impact, meaning the wages plus the impact on workers' comp, pension, and life insurance, payroll taxes, all of it would be a total of $43,442. For context, as that relates to the budget that we're currently in for operating, we had a projected net gain of $443,625. If this was approved as presented, it would still leave the budget with a projected net gain of just over $400,000 from an operational perspective. And I think as you see, if you really look at the numbers and the proposed increases and move them back to look at the comparables, it's not like we're launching everybody to the top of the comparables. We're still very much at the bottom of these comparable lists with everything. So, and if not the lowest, then the second to lowest, then just about everything. Most all categories still remains the lowest. And then again, staff will continue to kind of research and fine tune in years to come to see if we can identify the best comparative positions we can find. But I do think the data presented tells the story that needed to be communicated in this regard.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the members of the board about the proposed adjustments?
I have a question. When was the last time an adjustment was made for the staff?
Last year.
Was last year?
And before that?
Probably a couple years before that. I think Park had got one before that because they were so far out. But on the rec side, it was probably at least a few years before that. Looking at it from a step system. And again, I understand you heard a comment earlier about performance. This isn't about performance. It's about pay scale per position. This isn't based on performance. If it was based on performance, I would actually recommend a lot more. But this is looking at positions and trying to remain competitive in a very competitive labor market right now.
No, I've understood. I wanted to get some additional context.
Yeah, we did present last March, kind of a little bit more in the spirit of what the policy is and what we would be able to do moving forward, and that we are then able to incorporate that into the draft budgets as we move through, so you can see the impact as it happened in the budget, and that would be how we go forward. But those became effective in the last July.
And when's the the last time we did a adjustment, but we haven't done a whole look like this and adjusted the steps and all this?
Well, this is how we do it every time,
Okay.
because they are on a step system. You have
Okay.
to move the entire scale when you do it. This is that is your pay schedule, so that's
Right.
what you have to go by. As mentioned in here, you actually only have 2 positions outside of our part-time hourly positions that aren't on a pay schedule. That would be myself, and I operate on contract with the board, and then Tiffany's position is also within, for the admin assistant, it's within a range, and that was how it was established purposely when that position became a full-time position. And I would point out too that I'm putting that position in here more for just transparency and openness sake, so you can see the full. It keeps it within that range, and within that range, doesn't require a board action to keep the salary within that range, only if I came to the board and said I want to increase this range.
Okay.
But I included it here just so you saw what the full impact was and what our thinking was.
Do we need a whole separate agenda item to change titles?
I would have to get back at you to really say that. I mean, you did approve the position a while back, where I've heard mixed on that, to be honest with you. I'm happy to follow up with council, and if he just says, well, that's on you, then I'm happy to make that move, and I'll just change the job description title from admin assistant to this. I mean, I wouldn't change anything else having to do with the job
If you
description.
don't change the job description,
It would
I would be
be-
surprised if you had to.
It would be
Okay.
strictly a title. I'm happy to just
Yeah.
make that move.
And if it makes it easier in terms of making sure we have comparables, and if, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the English word, I don't have Hebrew word would work. If anything happened and we would need to replace anybody on
Right.
our team, it would be easier to then recruit using the
Right.
standard nomenclature that everybody else has.
Well, and you're exactly right, because I did talk to some colleagues, and Tiffany's position is typically found within a finance department of other places, or is the finance department of other places, isn't necessarily, or some parts of what she does is in the HR department, because she also handles all of our payroll and benefit administration too. So it's calling it an admin assistant. When it first came on, that position, that's really what it was, and it helped, it was a 15 to 20 hour a week position 15, 20 years ago when it kind of was developed, and as the district has grown up and our business needs have increased, that position has grown as well.
Bill, do you have any questions, comments?
No, I'd
Okay.
like to make the motion to adopt.
Second.
You're doing my job for me. All right, all those in favor of approving the recommended pay schedule wage adjustments for non-represented full-time positions?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Great.
Just let us know if we need to do.
I will. I don't think you do.
And if
I
there's
think-
anybody else who needs their titles adjusted so that it's,
I'll follow up with our council and find out what the proper
Okay.
protocol on it, because again, we're not changing responsibilities or job descriptions, just the title of the job itself, the title of the position itself.
an industry, they just do it.
Yeah, well,
without-
we're government.
I know.
We don't get to do
I
anything like
know.
that.
All right, moving on to district manager report. Eric, you get to keep talking.
Yeah, just a couple things. I mean, it's been a super busy month, but more just on the general administration of the agency here, with a lot of people out. On the FEMA, I mean, we keep moving along. We've submitted all the things we can submit at this point in time to all the environmental regulatory agencies. We started to get some comments and back on that, making revisions. I've been communicating actually with our FEMA rep today, so we are scheduling a formal site inspection. Well, they will come out to strictly with a separate team just to look at the damage and kind of build their own assessment of what the damage is and what potential cost could be to repair. However, they will still take into account once we submit our plans for repair. Just they need to send people out to understand why we're proposing what we're proposing. We have still been in contact with the county. I'm actually expecting within the next week to have civil designs completed on the wall, as well as the final waterproof membrane that's going to go on the exterior of the maintenance facility. And then we've already got feedback from the environmental agencies about some of the channel work in the Actual Creek channel. So that's coming along as quick as it can. We're actually hoping to be able to have a request for bids out ideally this month. And so we're building a vendor list. We have to send it out toward large groups, but we're also going to send it to very specific vendors in addition that we know are qualified to do this type of work. And all of this is going to get bid out as one job. We're not creating 3 different projects here. The entire scope of work is going to fall under one umbrella. And then they can always communicate with each other, which is pretty standard in this type of work. So otherwise, I just wanted to bring light. Fire department staffing has been an issue for a little while. We actually had a situation for the first time in many years where we had to run a 2-man engine company because we did not have a 3rd person available because of people on prearranged vacation dates and Santa Fe having similar issues, having to pull back a Santa Fe firefighter who had volunteered to do a shift with us. They needed to fill a shift over there, and that's the way that works. I say all this saying that actually just on Friday afternoon, we actually got another application from a very qualified app who we've done a little bit of follow-up on, and we're going to be bringing him in for an interview ideally within the next week or so. So we'll see how that goes.
Is he more of the
He's a
EMT
firefighter
level?
paramedic. No, he's a
Okay.
firefighter paramedic. And so, but this is just more of a heads up. There's no action or anything to be
Okay.
taken, but I have been sitting down and talking to the fire captains. I have a meeting with Deputy Chief Roman from Santa Fe to kind of discuss this a little bit farther next week, slated, where we're just going to try to look at some other potential strategies. I don't want to commit us to anything, but we're just trying to think outside of the box. And maybe it is a firefighter, EMT firefighter who is currently in paramedic school, and if we were to hire them, get some level of assurances that we hire you at this level. Once you achieve your paramedic, you'll stay with us for X number of years, so on and so forth. So we are working on all of that, just trying to think of ways to fill that final vacant position because we did have an off-duty injury to another firefighter that is going to put him out for probably up to 4 months at least. He tore his Achilles.
They should be in bubbles.
Yeah, and this was just a real freak thing
Yeah.
for him too. It's not like he was out doing incredibly dangerous activity. It happened. It was off duty, but he's out of work for a while with a giant space age looking boot on his leg.
So probably
Yeah, no, it's a bummer. But we're helping him out too and making sure, because they do have long-term disability insurance
Yeah.
available to them, so we're making sure that he's getting access to all of that and getting him all that he needs to show them. So, and my point being though is that fire department staffing, if we can't get this solved soon, it is becoming an issue.
Yeah,
We gotta get on it and get it
okay.
right.
All right. Anybody have any questions about the FEMA or the fire department?
Great job.
How, so have we been seeing anything from CalOps, that resource that we have for posting roles? I mean, has that been helpful at all?
Not a lot right now. I mean, by the time we had it going, we really also wanted to use it for the rec department, but
Yeah.
Robin had managed to get most of her hiring done, so it didn't have a lot of posting need on that. Not a lot thus far through for the firefighter position that we have open. But a lot of other agencies who use CalOps then use these other boards to advertise their CalOps posting. But since we already had posting and direction, looking for email applications and built that, I've elected not to change that and push them over to there to do it. I might, let's see how this other interview goes,
Yeah.
especially if we're gonna start changing up what we're putting out there, then we might push more people to the CalOps process. It was just one of those things that by the time we were able to get in there, we'd already had a process going.
Right.
So it was, and you and I should probably speak more offline about this, and I'd love to pick your brain on it, because just kind of changing up our recruiting process to move to it, which we might be doing here anyway. So it might make sense that would be a good transition time to then just take those other postings that we put in other places and steer them towards the CalOps site for all of their, to complete the application process and
Yeah.
submit that way.
Yeah, it's good to have an aggregator.
100% agree. I just wish that we could have got them on board when we
We wanted to.
pushed and started moving and
Yeah.
doing all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, if this next interview doesn't work out for whatever reason, then again, we'll sit down, we'll run all our brains on what makes sense, on what we can do to get somebody in, and it might be somebody who isn't quite a paramedic, but is an accomplished firefighter, working towards paramedics, and go from there.
I guess I had a question that it's not in the district manager report, and I was wondering if you had anything to tell us about the playground?
The playground's in contract, parts have been ordered. Luke and I had a online meeting with the vendor to finalize all the color palettes and everything else. I mean, you forget, there's a million parts in a million different colors, but at the end of the day, it really kind of went with the same color scheme that they presented originally. And did pull up some pictures just to get some clarification on, when you look at a CAD drawing versus actual pictures, that some of the ones that they submitted, and just saying, okay, so that's more what the real color is going to kind of be. It was less orange and more tanny, so we were happy about all of that. So no, it's ordered. We are fully in contract. We've received everything from them, all of their insurance, all of their department certificates, their bonds that were needed. It's wrapped. So equipment's been ordered, and now we're just anticipating. They say 16, 18 weeks. You just never know how long it'll take. But we're still all hoping for an October completion. But if delivery pushes us into a little bit in November, that's okay too.
So if it's an October completion, how long, is it just like a week or two to do install? Or?
Yeah, do you remember what they said on the
I
install?
feel like it was like a 2 week.
Yeah, I think it was like around 2 weeks.
Yeah, just because you gotta incorporate the demo into that
Yeah,
too.
and then we added in the whole chip thing, right? So
That's on us.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other questions about the district manager report?
Nope.
All right, and we are skipping F as we decided to remove it since the chief is not here. We're going to move on to Parks and Recreation Matters, Recreation and Park Maintenance Activity Report.
Thank you. Well, summer's been off to a great start. We're just finished up, or we're in the middle of our 5th week, kind of the midway point through our summer season. Camps have run extremely well. It's been really great summer camp season so far. The staff are fantastic. Everyone's just been great attitudes. We've seen all sorts of fun special events. Our field trips have gone really smoothly. So we're very pleased with how the summer has gone so far. I've had 3 kids in camp this summer, and they've all had blasts, so it's been fun to see it from that perspective as well. So we're really excited where we are. We had a really good meeting with the camp directors yesterday. We've got a lot of big plans to kind of do a bunch of extra special things moving into the second half of the summer and kind of take things to the next level now that we've established a really good foundation. So very pleased with that. The warm weather's brought some crowds to the pool. Things have been running really well at the pool. Swim lesson enrollment is basically full. Our guards and training program, I think enrollment this year is among the top 3 years we've ever had in terms of that the program's popularity. So that's been great. As you guys know, the guards and training program is for like middle school age kids interested in hanging out in the pool and helping out with our swim lesson program. And I would say probably 75% of our lifeguard staff can participate in the GID program when they were that age. So it's a great feeder for our future staffing needs, which is fantastic. So things at the pool are running really well, and we're pleased with that. And then we just had our second Music in the Park last Friday of the 4. We've got 4 installments this year. Fridays was a really fun event. It was kind of a celebration of women in rock and roll music, and there were I know a bajillion guest musicians that came up and sang and played different instruments, and it was a logistical nightmare for the sound guy. And thankfully that wasn't me this time, and I didn't have to deal with all that. But the band was really good, and they brought actually a really big crowd specifically to see them. And we got a lot of new people at the event that we don't normally see from the neighborhood. So that was kind of fun, and it was really well attended and it went really well. And so we're looking forward to the next 2. They'll be happening first Friday and the 3rd Friday in August. Before that happens is our next event is our Summer Brew Fest, taking place on July 22nd, Saturday from 3 to 7 in the park. And we've got a great event planned for this year's Fest. We have 10 or 11 breweries coming. A couple of those are just donations, and we'll have volunteers manning those stations, but then the rest of our brewers will be there. And we have Forest Fire Barbecue will be providing food again this year, and then we'll have live music happening throughout the event as well. So we're finishing the final touches on the details of that and making sure we have enough staff to settle that up. But we're looking forward to that. The weather is nice, not too hot, but it looks like it's going to be, as of right now, it looks like it's going to be really great. So I hope everyone's able to attend that, and that's a week from Saturday. And then other things going on in the rec department. Summer takes up 99.9% of our time and attention, but we are starting to work on our fall schedule of classes and programs, and in the winter, and starting to put together the fall winter catalog and getting all of those classes lined up, getting that schedule put together, and I'll have more details about what we'll be offering this fall at the next meeting. But there's a lot of work being done on that as well. On the parks maintenance side, today was really exciting. We got our new lawnmower today, and we got to, it's a very big move because it's a lawnmower that predates Marco, actually. And Marco's been here for over 30 years. And so,
Thank you guys for maintaining things so well.
Yes,
that they
yes,
can
you're welcome.
last that long.
So it's the new machine is it's a really nice machine. It's a sort of a Swiss Army knife of lawn care in terms of it has lots of different attachments, and we've talked about it at previous meetings. But it can mow, it can aerate, it can trench, and it'll be able to be a flail mower. It'll be able to be a small tractor. It can tow the trailer. It can do up to like 30 different things. We're not going to need all that, but right now it's going to be a huge efficiency improvement for us, and cut down on our rentals, and increase the kind of care we can give to the turf and the park. And, the staff is thrilled. The person that dropped off today walked everyone through. We did a very in-depth tutorial, and everyone got to ride it and try it out. And it's a really nice machine. And for me, the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that it's got state-of-the-art shocks, and it's really, we've got a lot of gopher holes out there. We got a lot of bumps, and I know that the old lawnmower was not very friendly to the backs of our staff, and so this one, they were all like, "Ooh, this is smooth." I'm really excited that they will have a much more comfortable time maintaining.
Things you
the
look
park.
forward to at older age.
Exactly. So that was very exciting. A lot of excitement today going through that and learning how to use it. So we'll be mowing along with the new machine this week, and you probably won't notice the difference, but they will. So that'll be.
Can you make it last 30 years?
I think it'll last forever.
Okay.
We'll outlive us all.
That's right. And so other things going on with the Parks Department. The crew spent time out at Creekside Park and Mini Park doing some maintenance and landscape improvements and lots of weeding. The pools received some cleanup and replacements of the privacy screening, and they fixed the fire gate that needed to be repaired. So all that's up and running and working correctly. I think, I don't know if this got mentioned before, but we did end up having some opportunity to have one of our contractors do some work cleaning up the medians, the mill along the Olympic Road north of Wyattwood, and so there were a few days spent out there pruning and weeding and cleaning up, pulling out dead brush and taking down some dead trees, and I think the area looks much improved, and I think now it's much more maintainable state to keep it looking good moving forward. So there'll be some more work done on that in the future, but we're excited to have been able to get some of that done. And upcoming projects with the staff, we're focusing on the north end of the park where we had the shipping containers during our temporary courtyard. Staff have been putting new irrigation lines in place to be able to replace turf in a large part of the area. We'll also be putting in some seating at the picnic table, picnic bench, and a walking path through there. So work is being done on that to scrape back the chips and prepare the ground for putting in turf and being able to water it. So that's one of the big projects that we'll be focusing on for the next couple of weeks.
Are you gonna relocate the Gaga ball court back to where it used to be? So they could take advantage of that really nice fence for the kids to sit down while they're waiting?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know for sure, we'll have to see what the options are, but my goal, the Gaga ball pit is well loved here behind us next to the classroom, but it's a little too big, it encroaches on the path in a couple different places. So the plan is to take this one and put it back in its original spot at the end of the park and potentially get a smaller one that we can put here. The Gaga ball is one of the most popular activities that our campers do, and it's also used in our after-school program and our preschool program, and members of the public are seen using the Gaga ball pit on the weekends and after hours. So it's actually a very popular feature of our park, and so I think if we had another one, it would just increase how many opportunities my kids get to have to play Gaga ball throughout the camp week, and they'd be happy about that. So that's the plan, and we'll just have to see when we can acquire that and how much it's going to cost.
Are we gonna
That's-
reuse those chips? Can we reuse them?
The ones that we're scraping back from the park,
Yeah.
yes, we absolutely will. We have lots of places that we'll reuse them. It's good soil, good chips, and they will definitely be used in a couple
So
different
those,
spots.
and those are not engineered wood, those are actual wood chips, so we can't like use them.
They're not playground.
Okay, that was my
related,
question. I was like hoping.
They're also mixed in with a lot of soil and
Okay.
and dirt and stuff. But yeah, no, we have lots of places that we use those for weed abatement and just for aesthetics, and so we've got lots of spots. They're going to go next to the tennis courts for now, and we'll use them, in various places in the coming weeks.
Okay, thank you.
But that's all I wanted to report on. Are there any other questions?
I have one, and I don't mean to open up Pandora's box, but the medians, I thought that we're only gonna do the ones out here, not the other ones. What made the change?
We had some funding left over in our tree budget before the end of the fiscal year, and we had some dead trees that we had to deal with earlier in the season, and we had a couple more that were spotted that we didn't want to be falling on the roadway. And so it was an opportunity to kind of go in there and take care of some of those trees, and while they're at it, I said, hey, can we just clean this up, so it's looking nicer in the meantime. So it's not something that we are necessarily wanting to set a precedent where we're going to be out there doing this, but this cleanup will make things look better for a long time, and it's those are the medians that we don't do like regular weekly maintenance on with our landscape contractor. But that was an opportunity to clean off the brush that's encroaching onto the roadway and make things look a little bit better going into the new fiscal year. So that was the logic there.
Maybe we can reach out to people that are actually in charge of those things and say.
I've already had
"Some
that
funding."
conversation. This plan was in the works
Yeah.
before that got done. It just was a matter of when they could actually come out and do the work.
Yeah.
We didn't spend a ton of money on it, $2,000 on just
It was more Pandora's box for the community when we're
Right.
telling them we don't manage that, and then we just handled it, but if we got it to a nice place to hand off, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's basically the plan. And again, as far as the county goes too, it's, and I've told this to other residents, it's, be careful what you ask for kind of a thing, because maintaining landscaped roadway medians isn't their priority in any
Yeah.
stretch. Their priority would be hardscaping roadway medians. And where that particular one is, again, to Luke's point, we had a little extra and had already had this contractor working on a couple other projects for us, so he kind of added that into the mix for us too. So it does look a lot nicer, it's a lot more safe, it's a lot more open, all the dead brush has been pulled back. They did a good job for it, and now it's in a good place to make it easy for the responsible parties to continue to maintain.
All right, thank
And they
you.
come in with their big lawnmower and take it all out.
Wow.
Exactly.
Like that, they're not.
All right, we are on H, board member items of interest. Are there any requests for future agenda items from anybody?
I'd like to pipe in and wish Tiffany a happy birthday.
You want that on the next, you want that on the,
No.
future
that's
agenda items?
Extra item of
An item
interest.
of interest.
It's an item of interest. Does anybody else have any items of interest that they would like to?
I would like to make sure that either the position change or whatever is addressed and put on our next agenda if needed.
Or just a note saying that it was in the district manager report saying it didn't need to,
Correct, either one, but then,
yeah,
but then it'd still be agenda item.
that's true.
Meeting adjourned.
Any anybody else have any other requests for next? I would like, I mean, you're gonna update us on the fireman, but fire person, excuse me.
Firefighter.
Firefighter. I was trying to be,
Might not be a person.
it's not.
Could be.
All right.
The other thing I would add, next month we'll have prepared for you kind of a pre-audit, end of year P&L statement for the operating side.
Okay.
Just like we always do in August, so you'll have a chance to look at how the year ended from a revenue expense standpoint for operating expenses. So all of that'll be put together next year, and we'll have updated tax rolls and everything. I did take a very quick peek at as we're still getting trickles in, and we've either, we're meeting or exceeding from a tax perspective all projected revenues, so we're doing okay.
Perfect. And I guess my only other thing would be any more updates about building going on, if they're moving forward, where we are with our trail, do you know what I mean? Like,
You kind of
not,
lost me.
so not with the Daphne property, but with the other, because, right, we're waiting to see, they
I
have to do
haven't
the roads
heard,
and
yeah, I don't
everything
know
before
where
we
that
can do any
stands.
trail.
I can reach out to
Okay.
the county planning and land use departments.
Well, there's no
Okay.
bridge, so.
There's no bridge yet, yeah, I didn't know.
It's not moving that much.
It's not moving that much, but I just thought maybe, keeping it,
Yeah,
So we
I
kinda
don't
know
think
when
they're
there's a
gonna get it
bridge.
this year at all.
yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
No, we're still
When there's
moving
a bridge.
forward on the CEQA-related studies too, and when those are done, we'll be able to kind of put all that together, and then regardless of where they stand on that, we would move more towards, from that point, depending on what the CEQA studies tell us, we would move more into public outreach and things of that
Okay.
nature too. so.
All right, perfect. All right, I move to adjourn this meeting, and the next date of our regular board meeting is August 8th.
Thank you.
Everybody. Happy
Thank
birthday to
you.
me.
Thank you.